In this podcast, I will be talking to a clinical instructor on the Community of Inquiry framework, its meaning and development of the teaching presence in the online classroom. I'm Stephanie Gonzalez in the interview of Debbie Zorengol. Welcome, Debbie. Explain a little bit about your online course, ST 101 Infection Prevention in the Procedure and Beyond.
So thank you so much, Stephanie, for that warm welcome. Let me explain the course just a little bit. Healthcare-associated infections are costly. Let me explain the framework. Community of framework, there's three areas that attribute to this and to the learner's participation or progress in the course. As the slide depicts, there's three circles: teaching presence, cognitive presence, and social presence. And they all are intertwined, and there is one section where they all come together to support the elements of learning, where they work in tandem to create that environment.
Interesting. Can you tell me a little bit more about the three presence?
Yep. Cognitive presence, we can talk about how they interact with different simulations and case studies to explore, to get in depth, to think about, to make them start thinking about their critical thinking skills.
Describe how you've applied the critical thinking to your unit on sterilization techniques.
Yeah, so we do a case study and the simulations, and then we have the learners analyze the sterilization technique and what, like, the bacteria it actually kills, and what really is the purpose of that, and what does it mean to be sterile and effective.
That's an important skill. And how do you approach or apply problem-solving tasks to this course?
I encourage students to look at problems from a different side, a different perspective, to use the knowledge that they've gained from the classroom or from their learning resources to a solution. And finally, co-learning to help with learning, they have their peers. And each peer may have a different perspective or a different idea on something.
That's awesome. How do you think they help enhance student learning and understanding of infection prevention?
By engaging with the material rather than just passively learning. And
with social presence, how are you finding the peer discussions in your online forums? Are they helping students understand the principles of infection prevention better?
Yes, the discussions have been enlightening. Reading about the students' experiences and strategies in different healthcare settings has broadened the students' understanding as well as my own. Facilitating teaching presence, the syllabus itself is one example on how to build that presence. Through the construction and development of the syllabus, it reflects the assignments and discussions. Discussion boards are easy to read, and they're in a format that is going to be visually enhancing to the students, as well as giving them specific instructions and directions for assignments and posts.
Awesome. So the presence really starts before the first day of class?
Oh, most definitely. It surely does.
Surely there's more to it, Debbie.
Oh my gosh, yes, there is. So the structured lessons that are prepared with the modules, as well as interacting with activities and hands-on practices to prevent infections, as well as effective communication techniques and exercises that focus on how to improve communication with each other and our peers in the professional and the procedural area. Another example is within creating discourse in the discussion classes and the questions, because that helps prompt the learners to go deeper into the inquiry, into the critical thinking of different topics, as found by Garrison et al. 2000.
That sounds like it might be challenging.
Well, not really. Garrison et al. 2000 explains this really has to do with your well structured questions to review and to validate the student's learning, to make those a part of learning, and they are essential.
And I know feedback is a crucial element in education. When I was in school, I usually got grades with short comments. How do you provide your feedback and make it meaningful for your students?
Absolutely. Meaningful feedback is specific, constructive, and timely. It's not just about a grade, it's about guiding the learning journey.
I see. So it's the feedback really helps us guide our learning.
Exactly.
But how do you relate this to group projects?
So that's a great question as well, Stephanie. You're coming up with some really good ones. And in the classroom or in the collaboration in the group settings, what I could do is not only will I monitor the collaboration between their communication to each other, but also I also can provide feedback on the final project that they produce. It's all about the process and the teamwork.
So it's like you're part of the learning process, not just an observer.
That's great.
Yeah. So as we wrap up and reflect a little bit on the community of integrity framework, inquiry framework, it's important to note that a lot of the research on this framework is limited to single context and area. What's your thought on that?
That's an interesting point, and it's an important to note as there may be potential problems. And that one area may have that another area may not. But it's also important not to jump to those generalizations. So much more research is needed within a multitude of different subject areas that can help guide the framework a little further.
Exactly.
Despite the research limitations, we found that the framework is beneficial for structuring discussions and activities. Using it, be more aware of different aspects of my teaching, like how I interact with the others and how I engage with the content.
Love that.